stories of entrepreneurs and how they overcame the struggles and challenges to get where they are today. This is Believe in the Entrepreneur with Joel Sandoval, CPA.
What it is, welcome to another episode of Believe in the Entrepreneur, and I'm super excited because I have a dear friend of mine, but also real estate mogul Juan Bustamante in the house. Thanks for being on the show, Juan.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like a special one, right? Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo special, exactly. Exactly. So for those that don't know Juan, actually, I met him maybe a couple years ago, and Juan was, he's been a kind of big name in the community since day one. But one of the things that I've helped him overcome, he's a client of mine as well, that his finances were probably not in the best place. He was good at developing relationships, and he's come a long way since then. And now he's crushing it in the real estate game, not just relationship wise, but also financially. So I'm super excited to have him on the show. But Juan, for those that don't really know you, tell me a little bit about your story. What even inspired you to become, work in the real estate industry to begin with?
Yeah, no, most definitely. So like a lot of us, we want to improve and kind of break that cycle. So I grew up in Norwalk, went to Cal State Long Beach. After that, I was actually pursuing school counseling, and I figured out that I didn't want to do that. Kind of got into it, and I did some substitute work and worked for some nonprofits, and then I decided that I wanted to do commercial real estate. So commercial real estate was always the target and the goal, and came to Bakersfield wanting to do commercial real estate. And the players that are in that industry, primarily they're a little older and they are of white descent. So,
right.
Long story short, I didn't get the opportunity with any of them, and decided to just take it upon me and figure it out. And did a couple changes, a couple brokerages, and just figure my way through it. And then that's kind of how it happened.
So one thing that I think is I didn't know about you is that you actually wanted to be a school counselor.
Yeah.
And so you went to school for that, but then you realized it wasn't for you. So how did you realize that wasn't even for you?
So what happened was I went to Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe Springs. I think there was a lack of, or sometimes there is a lack of, just somebody telling you that you can do more. And at that time, I was I did enough to get by, but I wasn't like your top student. I think the advice or the encouragement was not there from the staff. And I kind of proved them wrong, went on to school, and I'm like, you know what? I want to be a school counselor so I can really come of service and be in that position to help these kids in high school. And kind of got into it when did a Boys and Girls Club, did a California Mini Corps, and I did some substitute work here in Bakersfield when I moved here. Then I figured out that, you know what, that's not really the field that I want to get into. And prior to that, actually, during a big company came to our school for career day, and that company was CBRE, which is the #1 global commercial real estate firm. And they had a presence here in town. And anyways, that's kind of how it happened. And then, yeah.
Gotcha. So, I mean, you mentioned that, was it this new opportunity about like, hey, commercial, KBRE came, CBRE came, and you saw that opportunity. Did you get so inspired by that, you want to change your complete career?
Well, funny story about that is you can look at any of the big brokerages and just look at the names and see who's there. So funny story, which we're friends now. I'm driving through Whittier Boulevard. Actually, some people can know this landmark. I forgot the street specifically, but it's Whittier and some other cross street, and there's a Tommy's there, Tommy's Burgers. And there was a sign. There was a sign that said for lease. And then the names was Juan Jimenez and James Rodriguez. I'm like, I got to call them. I mean, they got to talk to me. They're Latinos, and I got to pick up the phone. So I did. I called Juan Jimenez, and we sat down at the Citadel where they have the outlets out there in Commerce, I believe it is. And he kind of broke it down. He kind of gave me some information. And then I also met with this partner, James Rodriguez, and he gave me his insight. He's like, yeah, there's an office in Bakersfield, whatnot. And he actually took a step further. He actually took me to a meeting with me. And I saw these guys talking about development, mentioning some big national names. And I'm like, wow, that's like, I never heard of that. I want to know, like, how does that work?
Right.
And followed it and then just kind of, was really obsessed with it.
So when you saw that for lease sign, I mean, I would imagine you were not calling to get that lease yourself. You were just more inspired by like, wow, I see some Hispanic names.
Well, I think all of us, right? Once we see that other person, we're like, if they're doing it, I could do it.
Right.
And like I said, you can look at some of these billboards, you'll see the names, and if you Google them, you're like, okay. When you're starting, it could be very intimidating because, you guys are definitely not like kind. So
yeah. And I think that it's kind of like that story of the 4-minute mile, right? Like nobody thought that you could run a mile in 4 minutes. And I don't remember the individual's name, but as soon as that was broken, everyone now knew it was possible, and then it was like broken and broken and broken again. But for years, nobody could run a 4-minute mile, and then all of a sudden, one person breaks, and now everyone else can as well.
Right.
It's almost so the same thing as with you. It's like once you saw like, oh wow, it is possible. That's when you knew that you could do it as well. So okay, so tell me, you met with these guys, and all of a sudden, what happens?
No, so after that, I met up with them. They gave me the information. Met up with pretty much every brokerage in town. One of them kind of gave me the opportunity, but kind of took it back. And then what's funny, I mean, forward, like now I do deals with all of those guys. And now the brokerage that I was going to work for, one of my best friends is there. So it's interesting how really the universe works and how you have to go through your own journey.
Right.
And at that time, I didn't understand. At that time, I left Wells Fargo. That's where I worked to go do brokerage. And when I didn't work where I wanted to work, I worked at a different firm. I started at Carpi.
Okay.
At Carpi Real Estate and just kind of figured my way through and then did it that way.
Gotcha. So, I mean, you were in banking, but then it seems like, so like, why even real estate though? Like what sparked your interest in real estate?
So going to the banking. So when I sat with this individual, locally, commercial guy from the CBRE firm, he's like, hey, Juan, because I'm like, what should I do? What kind of traits or, there's someone that in this industry have? He said at that time, get into title, escrow, or a financial company. I don't know if that's the best advice, but at that time, I'm like, let me Google, try to find a job that's related to that. So I got into Wells Fargo Financial.
Okay.
It was a subdivision, did subprime lending, and they primarily focus on retail sales finance accounts. So
okay.
When you hear that 0% interest from Ashley's, well, you go and buy it from Ashley's Furniture. Wells Fargo ends up paying, and that's the account that you kind of manage or the clients that you're managing. And you get kind of comfortable. You're at this corporate company, the bells and whistles, time off. So I knew I was meant for more than just to be there.
Gotcha. So you just wanted growth, like you wanted to grow, and even though there was benefits, there was something bigger in store for you.
Right.
And so you're like, okay, well, I'm going to leave this banking world and go to, this real estate world. Did you become an entrepreneur at that point? When would you say that you felt like you became an entrepreneur?
I think it's been very recent. I mean, I think during that time, I was in real estate, but it goes back to not having the right mentoring, the right information. So I think my breakthrough just kind of was delayed because some of those reasons. And I think to very recent, now being at Keller Williams, they're big. Our CEO, our founder, Gary Keller, and Joe Williams, what they talked about running your operation like a business.
Right.
And you kind of come in that picture, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But
Yeah. And I think that's where most realtors probably fail, because they're just, going after the next sale, trying to make a commission, and they never really consider themselves a business owner, even though they technically, even under the eyes of the IRS, you are a business owner. Like, you get to write off your vehicle expenses, your food costs, your clothing, as long as you follow the rules. You can deduct so many things. So the IRS considers you a business owner, but real estate agents don't consider themselves a business owner. And until you kind of treat it like one, then that's when you start kind of growing. So you mentioned you had a breakthrough a couple of years ago. So how did you run your business prior to that? Or how did you have, what was a light bulb effect that you had?
Well, in the commercial arena, it was kind of difficult being in the Central Valley because of many reasons. So the first firm where I was at, the resources weren't there. Now, I got the opportunity to be at a larger firm, which was Marcus and Millichap. They recruited me. They saw that I was active in doing some deals, and that's when I got my aha. It was pretty much we were reported to the second largest office, which is in Encino. The number one's in New York, but they opened up 3 offices in the mid-markets, Bakersfield, Ventura, and Fresno. The only problem there that there's only so much velocity trading in Bakersfield for the price points that they focus on, and their splits are not the greatest. So had a conversation with my sales manager, and I told him I gotta expand and be, in different areas and do other prototypes in order for it to work. They didn't allow you to sell a home or do leasing or any of that. So the company's a great company. I just don't think it works for me, or didn't work for me here in the Central Valley.
Right. Yeah. So you kind of had your hands tied as far as what you could and could not do.
Correct.
So then you're like, hey, I want to do more. And so then you found more opportunity.
Right. So then I went to the drawing board and I said, okay, a good friend of mine where I started, going back to Carpi, started with a gentleman named Jose Chavez, and I'm like, man, what should I do? He's like, just go to Keller Williams and transact. And the more I find out about the resources, it's never really a perfect place, my opinion, but I think it works for what my vision and where I want to go.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think his Gary Keller is, obviously he's built a huge business with all the number of offices he has and stuff. And I've been able to watch some of his, he's been interviewed, and it's just like his thinking. He's like challenges you to think bigger. And, most people, that's where they fail. They don't really see how much opportunity is available, or they don't believe that it's attainable.
Right.
And then Gary Keller really is like, hey, you got to think bigger. And he's really big on that. And I think that's really what, you kind of align with, where you wanted more opportunity since even back in your banking days.
Right.
So now obviously, you've like grown so much, because I've been, you've been a client of mine for a couple of years, and I've just seen you, like, you just keep getting better and better every year. So for you, like, obviously I think that you've surrounded yourself with people that can help you win. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think, I've done definitely a mindset. I think it all has really been mindset, a lot of self-development, gone to a lot of events. And I think what happens is, a lot of the times we go to these events, you take notes, you have the notes, and you don't apply it, right? So I'm like, okay, let's take some, at least even if you take one nugget off of it and apply it, because there's just so much information. So I think investing in yourself, I didn't, when people would say that, I'm like, what do they mean?
Right.
It's really helped me with my mindset.
Right. Yeah. And I think what you said is big, is that, a lot of people will consume the knowledge, but then they don't take action, right? They don't apply. like you said, people like you've gone to events and you have the notes, but then, it doesn't actually become, you don't start applying what you learned. And so for me, I think is very important is just accountability. Because if you have someone to hold you accountable, like even if you know how to, like, let's say working out, right? Even if you know how to work out, it's like, I know how to lift weights, I know how to do cardio, but you don't have anyone to hold you accountable. I mean, why are you going to hit the treadmill if no one's trying to wake you up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning? Right. And I think that's what everybody needs. And I think when you say, having, application, like applying what you know, it's like, well, you need someone really to hold you accountable. And I think that you've done that, like the partners that you've established, me as your CPA, or even like Keller Williams, like they're helping you hold yourself accountable, right?
100%. So, since you touched on CPA now, anybody that I'm bringing into my business relationships, I want them to be aligned, right? So there was a couple of traits that I saw in you, and I'm like, okay, like, let's give it a shot. Everybody has to be aligned. Doesn't mean that other people are not great at what they do or whatnot, but just the direction and how you move, it's aligned with my vision and goals.
Yep. I think that's important because one of the things, the way you're going to get to where you want to be is to surround yourself with people that are going to help you get there, right? So they have to have the same vision as you. And I think that if you do that, then you're going to achieve your success. And I try to do the same thing with me. When I try to apply, get to the next level, I have to first find out who's at that level. Right. And once I find out who's at that level, then I approach them. Hey, how can we work together? I mean, I'm willing to pay money to learn what you have to teach. And because I know the amount of knowledge, it's like, I'm going to be able to use that for the rest of my life. And some people maybe not are willing to make investments, but you, I mean, what I've seen, like, from what you is that you're not afraid to invest, you're not afraid. I mean, so why would you say that that's kind of comes natural to you?
Because I think you hear this a lot with people. Let me pick your brain. Right. And I think just as human beings, we always want to help someone, right? But I think it has to be the right place and be in the right time, right place. And what I mean by that is I told somebody that said, hey, let me partner up with you and pretty much get some of your business. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be at this event, How much is it? X amount of dollars. So that's too much. So that already turned me off, because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, it was a great event, multiple great speakers. If you divide it, it's really nothing. So some of these speakers that were there, you'll be really hard for you to have them here in Bakersfield or go and pay them, because they don't usually are in larger cities where they go to. So
right.
That just told me like you want to do business, but you don't want to go to an event. You're already saying. So anyways, so I think there shouldn't be a price on yourself. Right.
Yeah, I 100%. Like, why are you not willing to invest into yourself, right? Like you said, there's no price to yourself. That's key. Because it's like, how much do you value yourself? It's like there should not be a price tag. And I mean, I would even add, like, if you're gonna learn and apply, I mean, it's worth every penny.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. We have different interns coming out of our office for school and volunteering and putting in some time. And I think, those programs and kind of almost saying, I'll work for free to just learn, because, everybody has, or these individuals have a lot of good information, valid information. They're pretty much, once you talk to them, they're summarizing some of their mistakes or some of their life experiences, and like pretty much showing in that time.
Right. Now, one thing, Juan, that I know about you, and that, I think that it comes natural to you, is you're really good at developing relationships. Yeah. So what, I mean, what's the secret to develop? Because I mean, like, I just go out and like everybody knows Juan, everybody wants to like just hang out with you. So how do you do that?
What happened, and I kind of just discovered that very recent. Before I'm like, no, you guys are just saying that. They're like, you could talk to a rock, but talk to them genuinely, like actually have substance in the conversation, not just talk. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I think I have to say maybe because I'm an only child and I had to figure out and find relationships, maybe. But I think that's one of my biggest, good traits that I have, that I can talk to pretty much just about anybody and kind of connect with them at different levels.
Right.
And I didn't realize that till later on because it became very natural to me.
Right.
It became very natural and genuine. Like, I really mean it genuine. It's not like I'm trying to put up a front because I want to be friends with, just.
Right.
And yeah, so I before people would tell me, hey, you're very good at connecting people and like you make us laugh and this and that. I'm like, so am I like a clown or what? And they're like, no, not like that. You're actually like, you make us feel comfortable and whatnot. So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably everybody's gifted with something. So I would probably say that's one of the things I'm gifted with.
Yeah. And you can sense that right away. Because even when we first met, it's almost like we had known each other for years, even though I had never even met you. And it's like, but I was like, oh, maybe it's because we kind of aligned, but I'm like, no, you're doing that with everybody. Like everyone sees you that way. Yeah. And it's just like, you just do it so naturally. But I think that the secret ingredient is just being genuine, like you're saying.
I think what happens is a lot of the times we want to talk to certain individuals or a like kind, whether it's politics, religion, or any of that. Put that aside. And at the end of the day, we're humans. And I think most people, I know that from every person, you can learn something. It doesn't have to be business. Like if I sat down with you, I learned so much about like family, how you're running like your family and business. And so I think everybody has something very special, unique to share. You just got to kind of give them the opportunity to and really pick that nugget. So when people are sitting down with me and talking to me, it's not even business and they're starting to talk, I get that nugget and I'm like, that's a good one. And they don't even know it. I'm like, so...
Yeah, I think that's super important because you actually can learn something from everyone. But you're not going to give yourself that opportunity unless you genuinely have a conversation about what they're up to and what their life's about, what's going on. And then before you know it, they set a nugget that you're like, I can apply this now. Yeah. But that wasn't even your intention. You're just kind of generally trying to just have a conversation. So, I mean, is that something that you apply in your business life now? Like, how do you how do you develop your relationships, like as far as business to grow your business?
Yeah. So in the real, well, pretty much in most business to business industries, relationships obviously are important, but I think where I'm at right now is as far as, what was the question again?
So how are you using relationships to your advantage to grow your business?
So someone said this: people don't care about how much you know till they know how much you care about them. So they talk a lot about this sometimes in trainings. Don't just call clients, really call them to see how they're doing, right? And I've connected with people and they haven't used me. If we're talking business wise, they haven't used me. For whatever reason, they didn't do all the business with me. And, somebody in another line of business? I'm like, yeah, here you go. Like, I do believe that if you genuinely service and help them, it'll come back to you one way or another. Right. So I learned that. And it took me a while because just, you always ask like, oh, how come you didn't do business with me? Or how come you didn't do this? And, when you truly analyze it, I mean, I think it's more about, going back to what I said, people don't care about how much you know till they know how much you care about them.
Yeah, I think that's key because, at the end of the day, like you said, we're all human, right? And so unless we can connect with them at a personal level, right, then that's when the business start.
Well, I always say this, and I always say this, even with you, it's like, I want to be able to even go on the jog with you and just pick your brain on different things, right? Genuinely, but I have to like earn that, right? It's
Right.
not just so. And with anybody, I want to genuinely have a true relationship.
Yeah, I think that's key. And I think when you have more relationships too, it's like you said, it comes back, but you have to pursue the actual relationship and not what's going to come out of it.
Right.
Because if you pursue what's going to come out of it, you're not generally caring about that relationship.
100%.
And they're not going to give you their business because people can understand your intentions.
Right.
And so you have to be genuinely just, hey, I just want to see how things are going. Just generally care about them.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome that you use that in your business to grow your business, because I feel like the way you've grown from what I've seen is just through relationships and really not even having to market yourself.
Yeah, no, not yet. I mean, I think, going back to kind of see what you're doing, see what some other people are doing. I'm like, man, like I can't wait. There's still a lot of potential.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so much other things that you can do
Right.
on top of what you're good at.
Right.
And I think that's when partnering up with people is important, because you want to stick to your strengths.
Right.
You want to stick to what you're good at, and you don't want to focus on things that you're not. But there are other people that are good at marketing and doing ads on Google, Facebook, or social media, whatever it is, but let them focus on that while you focus on what you're good at.
100%.
And I think you do that with, you now that you're growing your business, like you're developing those relationships, obviously one step at a time, right? Whether it's me as your CPA that's going to take care of your finances, or Keller Williams that's going to help you treat your business as a business. Also investing into other mentors that are going to help you do other businesses in real estate. Like I think you showed me you're also doing wholesaling and other businesses like that. So, I mean, how have you expanded though as far as real estate? Because there's so much opportunity, right? A lot of people think that all you can do is sales, but I mean, you do a whole much.
So no, great question. So going back to the commercial real estate, you start finding out kind of where's your niche, where's your opportunity, where's your strengths. And I came to realize that commercial real estate is kind of my passion. There's like a commitment to that is deeper than what it just like the higher price points or any of that. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the commercial, so it's a team of 4 of us. We pretty much partner up from Fresno. They're in Fresno. I'm in Bakersfield. We get market share in between. How did that happen? Their clients have properties in Bakersfield, my clients have properties in Fresno. So we just joined forces and kind of worked out on the commercial side. And that's on the commercial side. And then through the commercial, well, I would help a client, and then they would say in the past, you know what, I'm not gonna lease that space, or I'm not gonna lease that building no more. But they ended up buying a house. And I'm like, well, they would have stayed with me. I already built the relationship. So I created another pretty much that service because it complements my business. Then with the distressed properties, there was an opportunity where a guy that I known of, I saw his coach, and a lot of people know him as Tatch Nguyen. Everybody knows him by don't buy this, buy that. And got to meet the guy, got to be in that environment, and he talks a lot about passive income. He talks about, creating generational wealth. And again, I would meet people or clients, and a lot of the times they didn't have the, they needed to sell fast. They needed to sell fast, and the wholesaling, it's really just helping a for sale by owner. That's really all it is. So he talks about really, if you're already in real estate, that should be a vehicle for you to, find opportunities. And I didn't really know how, like specifically. So he has a program that kind of breaks it down and shows you, and, whether you're going to hold, flip, wholesale, or just sell it traditionally. And with that, at the same time, going back and investing, right? At the same time, I'm like, well, what about if I don't have the money? Well, Keller Williams saw an opportunity, and they have a program called an easy flip program. So Now, when you're at the table and the client is in a distress situation and they do have the time, well, we're not just gonna buy the property from them directly. We're just gonna say that it is an option if time's not, they don't have the time. But now we can partner up with them, fix their house, and give them part of the proceeds.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So Tatch talks a lot about this is not stealing a house from an old lady. This is, we're not out there to steal a house from an old lady. But a lot of people that do this, they're only, that I've seen at least, they buy the property from that person and that's it because, they don't have time. Well, with our program through Keller, Easy Flip, we'll partner up with that person, fix up the house, sell it, and share the proceeds with them.
Wow. Talk about a win-win situation.
So that's an arm that I saw there was an opportunity. So that's rolling. And then the one that I'm passionate for as well is I was born in León, Guanajuato. I go visit my grandma and I'm like, how can I do real estate and all of that? So been very involved, kind of working on some projects. And, Keller Williams has 35 offices over there. And we just got our first listing in Puerto Vallarta, exclusive listing. So
congratulations.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think what you said is pretty important. Is like you've already developed a relationship now. So how can you help them, because you had a commercial client that ended up buying a residential and it's like, I could have cashed in on that opportunity, but.
So at the beginning, going back to in the commercial world with some of these other guys, it's looked upon bad. Like, how are you going to do like commercial and then residential? And then some people call it residential and this and that. And then going back, to really seeing people, mentorship that are doing at a very high level. And this, as long as you have, in business, it's sales, marketing, systems, and training, then, and you can service the client the right way, then I think there's no reason why you can have other services because they all complement each other.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not like you're completely doing something 180. It's
Right.
like within the same realm of real estate.
And then doing it, and sitting down and feeling good about it. It's like I'm liking it. I'm like, man, I have all these services. This is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just more tools in your tool belt.
Right.
That's awesome. So, I mean, you mentioned like you have even international business in Mexico as well. You have your listing in Puerto Vallarta, which is awesome. And I think that it just goes to show that, it's kind of like a lot of people don't know there's so much opportunity out there. And like you said, until you invest into mentors or coaching or training, then that's when you realize, wow, there was opportunity even in the past. I just never cashed in on it.
Exactly.
And you have to just be willing to surround yourself with people, that's going to give you that training because now you see more and more opportunity and just obviously you make more money when you see more opportunity.
100%.
Yeah. So I think that that's one of the qualities that you have as well is that, you're surrounding yourself with people like that to get you more opportunity to make more income in various ways.
Right.
So that's pretty exciting. So Juan, like what's one of the things that like, what are some projects that you're working on right now that you're pretty excited about?
Wow. It's a lot of them, but one that going back to the Mexico. So I would go to Mexico and I was like, how can I come from contribution? So some of the most recent ones is I'm going to be able to build a, what do you call it? Maybe I'm going to be able to build, so let me backtrack. All these major companies have customer service overseas. So I'm going to create that customer service in my hometown with my people and try to develop them.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to create opportunity and jobs to the Bustamantes in Mexico.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So how would those opportunities be created?
So those opportunities will get created by having a, we're going to call him a manager, and he's going to manage callers on a particular division of the business. So when people say, what do you do, Juan? I do commercial real estate, residential, distressed properties, and we also we're that bridge to help people buy and sell real estate in Mexico. So this is going to be focusing on the Mexico and also on the residential side here in the U.S. as well.
Nice. Now, how do you develop? Because obviously the real estate law in the United States is completely different to the real estate law in Mexico. So how do you bridge that gap as far as the knowledge and knowing how to transact in that country?
Yeah, so the great question. When we were getting our listing, there was a lot of attorneys involved because nobody wants to be liable, right? But we figured it out for make sure that everybody, it's that we're all doing the right thing when it comes to liability and so forth. So as far as the staff or the people that are going to be in Mexico, well, we have 35 offices in Mexico, so they're going to get trained through Mexico. But obviously, there are only so many things they can do, right? They're not going to be selling. They're not going to be doing any of that. They are going to be only able to do up to a certain, they're not going to be like an agent or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically you have resources, right? Because there's 35 offices, but you're also willing to invest into, people that understand, like attorneys in Mexico that can give you all the paperwork and,
Yeah. So in going back, that was a beauty. I spent some time doing this and seeing how it could work and it can work. It can work. And then, and we have, we have an office. This last time I was in Mexico was very nice. I had an open, not an open house, but it was kind of to showcase our local office. So I invited all my family and I told them to invite their family and friends. Why? For them to truly understand what I do in the U.S. Two, to support my cousin that's there already in that office. And three, to support the local office for recruitment and opportunity.
Nice. So you're basically the again, developing relationships, connecting people together to create opportunity for everybody else.
Right.
That's awesome. And one of the beautiful things too about doing business in your home country is that, there's tax benefits. Like now all the travel expense becomes deductible. Like if you're wanting to go spend some family time and vacation while you're out there, well, you just made it deductible because you're doing business while you're over there.
Right.
Which is a great tax planning strategy for other people that want to make their vacations deductible, is just to figure out somehow to do business in that particular city or state that you want to visit. That's cool. And so again, just trying to create opportunity for your family members, the Bustamantes in your home, home state, home country.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So how do you know, how do you see these opportunities? Like, for example, when you had the open house, you saw, okay, this is what's going to happen. But how do you even realize that?
Yeah. So as I'm kind of, your quiet time, you think about how can you do more, can you come from contribution, and obviously at the end of the day generate as well. So I'm the oldest of the oldest nephew. Yeah, from Mexico, but that's here. So and my dad's no longer around, so so they see me like my dad. So I would go in the past, and I see they're all struggling, right? Like the younger generation, and you can't really change them. And I'm like, what can I do to really impact them, right? Giving them money doesn't impact them.
No.
And I have, and taking them out to eat and spend time, but I'm like, no, there has to be something better than that. And then it clicked. One day I asked them who needs an opportunity. One of them said, yeah. And then she's like, how can I help you? She told me. And I'm like, you can't help me. I'm like, if you knew English, you could probably help me, but you can't help me. I'm like, help yourself.
Yeah.
And then, so she got plugged in, and she's I'm not in charge of her, but she's getting trained there, and potentially she might be able to, assist me once I build the infrastructure of what I need to do. And that's kind of how it started. And now that I kind of have the vision for it, I think it could work, or at least the opportunity is going to be available, and I'm going to feel good to be able to offer them an opportunity that's in my business, and I'm helping them.
Nice. Yeah, so I think that, like you said, that alone time, right? Like, it's funny how, they say, the ideas come in the shower almost.
Yeah.
because that's when you're alone and your thoughts are running through your head, and it's like, oh man, I wish I had a notepad in my bathroom in the shower, because that's when I get all the ideas. So obviously that's where your alone time, you find out, okay, how can I come from contribution? And then that's how you've been able to create opportunity. But what I think is more important is like, well, giving them someone money is not going to help them.
Right.
It's how can I actually help them help themselves? And it's almost like that saying that says, I could give you a fish or I could teach you how to fish.
Right.
And I would rather teach you how to fish, because now you don't need me anymore.
Right.
And that's kind of what your intentions are with your family members.
Right.
Because now that they'll be able to provide for not only themselves, but their family members. And that has more of an impact.
And even furthermore, it's where they all live, with the exception of one, they all live together, but they're in their own house that my grandpa left. And I'm like, somebody needs to break that cycle, Somebody needs to break that cycle. And I don't think real estate's going anywhere. So that's real estate related. So it's even going to help them to start thinking of like, well, let me buy a house for myself, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. And it's like you said, it's interesting how things pass on from one generation to the next. And it's like, people only do what they know, right? So the reason that your family members have lived in the same household is because people just get comfortable and this is what they know. And it's not until somebody is willing to put their foot down and said, this has to stop, is when there's actual change that happens.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing with like history. Martin Luther King, and then said, I have a dream, and completely changed the social platform for African Americans. Julio Cesar Chavez, right? I mean, so many people have done, the people that have made an impact in history is because somebody actually put their foot down and said, enough is enough, and it's time for us to change. And you're doing, and everyone can do that within their own families.
Right. Right.
Everyone can be that Martin Luther King within your own family, but you have to be the one to put your foot down and say, hey, let's break through from this limited capacity that we have.
Well, yeah, no, and kind of going back a little bit, I would say the Latinos were majority, we're not minority now, right? And a lot of times we would take things to our family members, whatever it might be, and nothing would get them excited no more. They're getting pickier and pickier, and I'm like, you know what? I guess you got to show them how to do real estate over there.
Yeah, that's funny.
But
that's pretty cool. So I mean, that's pretty exciting that you're doing business here locally, also internationally in Mexico, and you're just growing your business and with various forms of income. So tell me a little bit about like, what are you excited about? Like 2-3 years from now, like where do you see yourself?
Yeah, no. So what I'm excited for right now in my life cycle where I'm at, I think I'm excited about being able, so probably similar like a lot of businesses, people always come in and say, hey, can I help out? What can I do? And yeah, there's always an opportunity for anybody to see what the business is like. And I think I have the resources to do that. So I want to continue to, whether it's someone that wants to know about commercial real estate, which I have shown people about commercial real estate and they moved on to other companies, whether it's commercial real estate, residential real estate, distressed properties or Mexico. I want to be that resource to, if somebody wants to come and try it out and see if it's for them. I want to be that door that keeps it open for whoever it might be. And whether they decide to stay or not, at least give them the opportunity. But I think I want to live life by design, continue to grow the 4 funnels in my business. Like I said, the sales, the marketing, the training, the systems. And I do see myself, at least for now, I could say that I want to be able to travel. And since we have offices in everywhere, I manifest this where I show up to wherever it might be and work a couple hours and then go and travel wherever that place might be.
Nice.
So the next 5 years, I think it's growing it to, and we always talk about this in any business, not working so much in my business, but on my business.
Mm-hmm.
So to which there's systems in place to do that. which I will recommend anybody. I mean, these books are great number one sellers. The Millionaire Real Estate book from Gary Keller. There's the investment one. There's the Shift. So all those are great books that pretty much give you the platform surface level to create that.
Yeah, I think that's for me, that's one of the things I enjoy most about business is working on your business versus in it, because it's almost like you have to challenge your thoughts to be like, okay, what can I do differently in order to grow my business? And it's interesting because like the more you step away from your business, the more that's what you have to do in order for it to grow. You have to step away from it.
Right.
And it's like if you continue to work in it, then you're going to continue to get the same results.
Right.
But when you start to step away, it's like, if Juan Bustamante was no longer involved in this business, what are the key components you would have to have in order for it to run?
And you have to understand that, no, there's a lot of times, even when I call here, I'm a raving fan, and I always tell individuals to reach out to you, but it's a lot of people want to talk to the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't call, like, if, I don't know, whatever major company it is, you never talk to that person.
Right.
And you have to really get in that mindset and understanding that. But in real estate, it's kind of not known, but people make it a custom of who can answer the call the fastest. And you're not there to be what's it called? That just makes you a great receptionist, right? So it's building those systems and models and really just clients just want to make sure they're getting taken care of at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. At the end of the day, what matters are like the solutions that you're going to be providing to their problems. And like you said, but I think if someone does want to like meet the CEO, right? If someone does want to meet, it's almost like you said, like, hey, I want to go on a jog and pick your brain. You have to earn it. So if you do want to meet with that CEO of, let's say I one day want to meet Elon Musk, I'm going to have to be able to earn my right to meet him. If not, it's like, good luck.
Well, I'll give you a fun fact. We always want to meet those individuals, like you said, and there's some big power players in Bakersfield, and I'm working on one of them, right? And I go to eat here and there. I know where he eats, and he has breakfast, and I go and sit next to him and just talk to him. And guess what? He gives me the time and day.
Nice.
And big player in Bakersfield, and we connect at a different level, right?
Yep.
I'm not calling him on his office. Hey, can I pick your brain?
Yeah.
Go for lunch. So
I think that's key. It's like, again, that genuine relationship, right? That genuine, and I think, and not I'm not coming to pick your brain. Like I'm coming to like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, exactly.
And before you know, you're picking his brain, but that's not what your intention is.
100%. Yeah.
And it's like, you just kind of have to figure out how to develop that relationship without, hey, this is my intention to pick your brain. It's
right.
like,
Nobody wants to get their brain,
Yeah, their brain picked. Yeah, no, it's like, what people want is to develop relationships. And I think that's why people do, give you so much information, because they see that you're coming from a good place.
Right.
And when they see that, hey, this, you're coming from the right place, it's like, I'm going to just pour all my knowledge into you, because you're not coming with that intention.
Right.
You're coming to just, hey, how's your breakfast going? And like, how's life? And then that, before you know it, you got so many nuggets.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So Juan, that's pretty, I mean, it's pretty inspiring, like the nuggets that you've given my audience and my listeners, because I think people can now learn how to associate with people like that if they just come in with that right intention and really just develop relationships. But if anybody wants to reach out to Juan, the best way to do so is obviously on Instagram, which is at the Juan Bustamante. He also has a Facebook and a LinkedIn under Juan Bustamante. So if you want to be a part of his team and help him grow his business, or if you need help with commercial real estate or even residential, distressed properties, or even if you want a property in Mexico, Juan Bustamante is your guy. Again, at the Juan Bustamante. Juan, thanks again for being on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.